comic book fans, and welcome to another exciting edition of Cammy's Comic Corner, episode 60. Congratulations, people. We've made it this far. I'm your host, as always, Cammy. Now, unfortunately, this is going to be a really quick episode. Mainly because I have other shit to do, people. And plus, you know, not everyone likes watching me for 10 minutes. I mean, I love watching myself for 10 minutes, but I'm a narcissist like that. Also, a little spoiler warning. Apparently, if you haven't tuned into the show for the past 60 episodes, I spoil the fuck out of every book I review this week. So if you don't like to know what happens in your books, go ahead and pause this episode, go read them, come back, and go, I see his point there, or I disagree with him there. But also, you know, if you're on the fence about buying a book or whatnot, it's always helpful to watch this review. I mean, I could say something that you really like. Anyway, enough about me. Let's get on to the pick of the week. From WildStorm Entertainment, we have Ex Machina number 40, written by Brian K. Vaughan and art by Tony Harris. Now, this isn't your regular The Great Machine Mitchell 100 issue. Writers Brian K. Vaughan and Tony Harris themselves are in this comic book. And that's what mainly the majority of the comic book entails, is those two talking about pitching the idea and hoping to snag this gig of doing an autobiography on Mitchell 100, aka The Great Machine. Now, you think by the end of the issue, it's going to turn out in their favor. Like, this is going to be the whole story on how Ex Machina got started. Well, after running into the mayor and talking to him about politics and getting mistaken for Brian Michael Bendis because he's a Brian and he's also bald, they talk about the 9/11 attacks, girlfriends in California, all while Tony Harris is in the lobby talking to January, the secretary/arts/young people commission. Anyway, it's a really fun issue because of all the jokes, all the comic book jokes about like, you're not Brian Michael Bendis, you're Brian K. Vaughan, the guy who does the lesbians on motorcycles, right? Yeah, something like that. And I'm not really much of a Vertigo fan, but your pal Tony Harris, he really got me back into comics with Starman. So funny stuff like that. And then at the end of the issue, we find out the greatest joke of all. Apparently he didn't hire Vaughan and Harris to do his autobiography. He hired Garth Ennis and Jim Lee instead. And we have a beautiful last page of The Great Machine drawn by Jim Lee. So it was a very fun book overall, very Grant Morrison-esque, adding themselves as characters in the book. And you know, with only a few issues left on this series, this is one of the highlights for me. Now on to the Fast Five. First up, from Marvel, we have Mighty Avengers number 20. Now this issue is kind of a conclusion on what happened in Secret Invasion. You get a little closure, and it mainly focuses around Wasp. And everyone's going to her funeral, but it mainly focuses, Wasp, but also Hank Pym, her husband. Because he's been locked away on a scroll ship for Lord knows how long, and he hasn't had a chance to update himself with the times or even what year it is. Like, Miss Marvel has to tell him about World War Hulk, Civil War, Secret Invasion, and he's just in tears by the end of this because he missed all of these events and someone was impersonating him for the entire time. And even he lashes out at Tony Stark at the funeral saying, "It's all your fault." And it just makes you kind of tug at the heartstrings because I'm going to miss Janet. She was one of the founding Avengers, for crying out loud. So, if you want closure, this is the issue to pick up. Next up, from Vertigo Entertainment, we have Air number 5. Now, this has to probably be, hands down, my favorite original creative book of 2008. It started in 2008, and even by issue 5, I've just been loving this book. And you should too. You should pick up, if you want something new and creative, just please, do yourself a favor. Pick up the first 5 issues of Air. You will not regret it. The story in this, the flying machine, it's hard to describe in words because this gal writing it is so, J. Willow Wilson, she is so creative and she knows how to tell a story. And this is only the 5th issue, people. She has so much more planned. It's insane. Anyway, go pick it up. You won't regret it. Next up from Marvel, we have Spider-Man Noir number 1. Now, I was very nervous when picking up this title because I picked up X-Men Noir number 1, and I did not like that at all. I thought it was a huge piling piece of shit. So, after reading this issue of Spider-Man in the Great Depression, I was hooked. Because guess what? It doesn't really focus all that much on Peter Parker. It focuses on Ben Urich, the reporter/photographer for the Daily Bugle, run by a very calm, steady J. Jonah Jameson. But we find out that, he feels sympathy towards Peter for him and his aunt losing their uncle, and so he takes Peter under his wing. We get introduced to the Goblin, or Norman the Goblin Osborn and his crew of carnies, including the Vulture and Craven. It's just a great issue, because it really got me hooked. There's only 3 issues left, but I can't wait to see what happens. Will Peter turn into Spider-Man, or will Ben turn into Spider-Man? Because the question lingers, like a smoking gun. Because it's Noir. Next up, from Dark Horse Entertainment, we have Conan the Cimmerian number 6. Now, Conan finally makes it back to his fabled land of Cimmeria, with the pregnant gal / childhood sweetheart in tow. After fighting through a blizzard, they finally get back at some shelter, tells the stories and tales of his adventures and journeys to the village, and then finally, chats with his mom a little bit. And she tells him the story about his grandfather and how he came back to Cimmeria. And it was a very, very interesting issue. Especially since it's Conan and you're getting a little bit more backstory, throughout the entire series. But it really hits home with this issue. Very fun read. Barbarians, how can you go wrong? And finally this week, from Marvel Entertainment, we have Deadpool number 5. Now remember last issue where he was captured and kidnapped by zombie hotties? Yeah, well, he escapes in this issue because apparently zombies don't like the taste of his flesh, because back in the Weapon X program, when they were getting rid of the cancer and totally fucking up his whole body, they got in the bloodstream and, just took out all that tasty blood and, made it taste like tofurkey, apparently, according to the zombies. So that's how he gets out of this situation. He says, hey, I can get you some live prey, just let me go, let me get them. Turns out the mercenaries, going back for his life, and in the end, basically, he blows everyone up. It's a very fun issue. Now that little 2 arc was over, I can't wait to see what Daniel Way has in store for old Merc with the Mouth. So, tune in next month to find out, because I sure will. Well, that does it for Cammy's Comic Corner this week. If you want more Cammy's Comic Corner goodness, go to Cammy'sComicCorner.com. From there, you can subscribe to us on iTunes and onto the RSS feed. Also, if you like the t-shirts I'm wearing, like, hello, Lobster Johnson, anyone? Yes, please. Go over to www.deadlinegraphics.net and shoot Kelly an email. And people, it's almost the end of the year. So you still have the 10% discount off all orders. This is good until January 1st, people. Get on this. I already bought many t-shirts for a couple of friends. And I'm not going to tell you which designs I got for them, because if they're watching, their surprise would be ruined. But anyway, I don't trust anyone else when it comes to comic book t-shirts. And you should trust Kelly as well. So go to www.deadlinegraphics.net, send Kelly an email, and have a good time. And also, I will not be doing a review show next week, because it's the holidays, family, all that bullshit. But I will be debuting a Best of 2008 show, where I will be talking about my favorite writers, favorite artists, favorite titles, etc., events of this year. Don't want to miss it, people. It might be a little long, but that's what I'm known for, is long and informative. So keep that in mind. So without further ado, I've been your host, Cammy. This has been Cammy's Comic Corner. Have a good week.